This episode of the Amp Hour is brought to you by contextualelectronics.com. Are you an advanced Arduino user? Perhaps you're a hardware engineer who's still a student or just getting started. Maybe you're a software person who's being asked to design the products you normally just program. Contextual Electronics is a hands-on course taught remotely. You'll learn all about how to design your own PCBs from scratch using KiCad, and get timely instruction about the nuances of working with electronics. You'll learn theory alongside practical and be able to apply those lessons alongside your peers. For more info, go to contextualelectronics.com. This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded June 10th, 2013. Episode 149, with guest Lane of Allspark.com, Purple PCB Philosophy.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
And I'm Lane from Allspark.
Hey, Lane.
Welcome, Lane.
Hey, thank
That's
you.
not even your real name. Shall we continue
Isn't
to
it?
use the pseudonym?
Yeah, I mean, my real name is James Neal, but there are a lot
you
of
just ruined it.
but there are a lot of James Neals in the world. So I got to differentiate myself somehow.
There's a lot of James. There's a lot of David Joneses. That's why I had to put David L. Jones in all my everything I've ever published. I had David L. Jones just to differentiate myself.
You should try your last name backwards. That's a pretty good.
Okay.
Sinaj.
Right, everything's Pig Latin. Yay.
Yeah.
You youngsters wouldn't know what Pig Latin is.
Oh, I know what Pig Latin is.
There you go.
This happened at Maker Faire. Was it last year, right? And I started, hanging out with Lane, right? And I'm, calling him James. He's like, people usually just call me Lane. Yeah, and I'm like, right. Oh, okay. And then he gave me the whole story, because didn't you say there's like some like random like negative person on the internet?
Yeah, there's another James Neal who lives in Portland, who is a year younger than I am, who is in the same line of work as I was, and also actually held one of the same jobs that I did after I left it. So we have a matching line on our resumes, and he's a little bit of a curmudgeon. So I didn't really want to associate myself.
What if indeed this is like a Fight Club type thing, and you actually are him? It's just like you're only him at night or something like that.
Right.
That very well could be.
Yeah.
I was hoping it'd be more like a Highlander thing. But,
like
I guess
only one can.
Yeah, there can be only one.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's wearing a cape right now. Boy. Well, thanks for joining us. You're another Yank. I'm outnumbered again.
Oh yeah. I'm from Portland,
Oregon.
It's like halfway there
in the U.S.
It's basically it's basically Australia.
Right. The Oregon Outback.
Exactly. It's a little greener, a little bit more good coffee.
We
and
have
beer.
eucalyptus trees.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. And you're still in Portland?
Yep. I'm still in Portland. I live in a little suburb about 15 minutes south of Portland.
Right. No plans to move to the Big Smoke, i.e. Silicon Valley?
No, I have a family here, and I have a daughter here, so I'd like to kind of keep her in this school district for as long as we can.
Of course.
Plus, you got. Portland's a great town. I mean, it's totally weird.
Portland's a great tech community.
Yeah,
we have a great tech community.
So, who are you seeing as the tech community these days? Because obviously, my former employer overlord is Tektronix, and that was a big one out there. But who are some of the other big ones out there these days?
Oh, well, Intel, of course, is still based here.
Yes, I've heard of them.
There's Maxim IC has a fab here, I think, and there are a bunch of like Tektronix spin-offs, like Xerox. The Tektronix had
the phaser printers.
Yeah, so that's where I worked a few years ago, was at Xerox in their what used to be Tech.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Interesting.
Like on the same campus and stuff too?
Yeah, it's the same campus. Right, same campus. They just bought that part of Tektronix and moved in.
Oh, right, because because Nike did that too. Their tech is right next to Nike, I think, and then.
Oh yeah, Nike, and that was my previous employer just now is Nike, and they took over. They still call the building like the Tektronix Building 58.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Because of course Tektronix going down. The Google.
Well, they're owned by the same company as Fluke now, right?
Danaher, the evil Danaher Group.
Papa Danaher, yeah.
Danaher Group.
Boo.
Yeah. my former overlord. Yeah, Fluke and Tektronix and Keithley and a bunch of other.
And there's quite a few others. Yeah.
Yeah, Seabird or something like that. Well, that's cool. And, of course, the biggest industry of all out there, the Purple PCB company, known as...
Oh, that's right, yes.
Allspark? Is that how you say it? Is Allspark? Is that the official name?
That's how I say it, is Allspark.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Like Oshkosh Bagosh?
Like Oshkosh Bagosh.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, you have to explain that to this uninformed Australian.
It's overalls. It's a brand of overalls here in the U.S.
Yeah, and they used to have these iconic commercials of these little kids trying to say it.
Right. Okay.
Because they never could, right? And that was
Got it.
Yeah. Right.
Did they make big person overalls too? Was that a thing? I don't know.
Yes, they do.
Oh.
I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do.
I'll have to get a pair. Straight up farmer.
Well, if the tech thing doesn't work out for you,
right? Of course.
I could fall back.
Yeah,
you could fall back to overalls and dueling banjos. Out in Cleveland.
That's right. Yeah, the rural outback of Cleveland.
Right. Oh,
so
boy.
Tell us about Allspark. I mean, we have all seen the purple PCBs cropping up. They're like
awesome.
They're like the Borg, right? I mean, they're everywhere, man.
They do seem to be everywhere, and that's why I chose this as purple.
Start from the beginning. Tell us how it came about.
Yeah, so it started out. We have an electronics group here in Portland called Dorkbot PDX, and this is just like a bunch of us hobbyists who get together in kind of a geek themed bar downtown, and we all bring our projects and we all hack and stuff, and we were all kind of. It got to a point where we're all doing our orders, or like we're designing our own boards, ordering them off, ordering them from batch PCB or directly from Fabs, and having these long shipping times from China, and kind of a high failure rate, and we're having some problems with it. So we kind of figured out that we could that we had enough people in the group to justify our own panels from a US fab. And so we started. I said, okay, well, I volunteer, and I started taking orders and putting them on panels and sending them to at the time Advanced Circuits here in the U.S. And then I'd get them, break them apart, and hand them out at the meetings.
That was the humble beginnings, huh? It was just
that was the humble beginnings, and that.
So your entire business was based on you volunteering. Is that what I'm hearing?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's you were a nice guy. That was really nice of you, because that's no easy task. Is putting all that stuff together.
No, it's not to get all those Gerbers together to stick them all on a panel. It's a pain in the ass, actually.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of a software guy, so that part is kind of interesting, kind of fun. Working out ways to automate that, and it quickly became obvious that our group couldn't keep doing it on it wasn't enough to justify it on a continuing basis, because like I was doing a panel every month or two at the beginning, like maybe one a month, and I was getting maybe like 30% full even at that.
Oh wow!
And so
that's not enough.
Yeah, that's not enough to justify, like, because when you order from a US fab, you're paying pretty much the same amount for a 5 square inch board as you are a 300 square inch board.
Yeah,
because most of the cost is in the setup.
Right.
Yep. And so with only filling up 30% of panels, it wasn't going to be something that we could sustain, and so we kind of opened it up to people outside of our local group, and they would just email me the files, and I would I'd take the attachments off their email, add them to a panel, send them back a PayPal link, and kind of go from there, and then just mail them to them when I finally got the boards back. And so that allowed us to kind of kick up the frequency, and as news spread, we got it up to like to once every 2 weeks, to once every week, to multiple times a week, and that's kind of where we are now.
Delane's wife wanting to beat him into the ground.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's more automated now? So it's a more automated, is it a fully automated process in terms of people uploading their files? And like, do you actually have to shuffle the Gerbers anymore? And
Nope, all that's automatic. The only pieces that I have to do manually now are a little pre-inspection check before I send it to the fab, and
of course,
then of course breaking them apart when they get here.
Right.
Interesting.
Manual labor?
Yeah.
I know. I'd really love to automate that
doing
last
it wrong.
piece.
Yeah. Right. So you've got to break them apart and then pack and ship them.
Right, and and I got ideas on how I can automate that, but it's
robots.
I think it's going to be kind of a project. Yeah. The Roomba so far has been a horrible failure.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, he just cleans up after the the shards of FR4.
It's about all it's good for.
What about the I mean, why did you decide to go with U.S. fabs though? And like, how did you start finding them?
Oh, so the U.S. fabs it's mostly about the speed and the quality. Since our two big problems were that we had to wait for like a month or more to get these boards back from China, or then to get some back, and we had a pretty high failure rate of about 1 in 4.
Really?
For some of them.
Failed in what way? Annular ring breakouts or what?
That sort of thing. Shorts. Solder mask not being quite right. A wider range of things that we were getting a pretty reasonable failure rate. And so, I mean, I've tried since to order from Chinese fabs, and they either don't want to do it based on the complexity of the panels, or the samples have come back and have had big problems. Mm-hmm. And like my failure rate through the U.S. fabs is about 1 in 40,000 boards.
Holy crap!
and from the Asian fabs, I was getting maybe 5%.
Wow.
That's
that's pretty crazy.
So how are the boards done on an individual basis? Are they fully routed with tabs, or do you do V-grooving? So can people like send you, because I've never used the service, can people like send you a really weird shaped board?
Oh yeah, they're all routed out with route and retain tabs. So whatever strange shapes you want to do on the outside is just fine.
Yeah, and you have a thing on your site as well about internal routes as well for like isolation, right? I think that was...
Yeah, you can do isolation routing. You can do routes inside. You can do cutouts. I've seen people do funny things like make big O-ring donut-shaped ones and then put a board in the middle, in the space in the middle.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. Yep. Yeah. That's quite common.
What's the final use of that?
Well, it's wasted space otherwise, right?
So you're saying? Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that it's like they order a second board within that circle. That's what you mean?
Yep.
Right.
Oh, okay. So then they basically do like a board service within a board service kind of thing. They actually add their own grooves for breakouts, tabs, and everything.
All right.
Well, you don't even have to do that. I mean, the fab does that.
Now, your automated software obviously adds the routing path. I assume it's a standard 2.4 millimeter routing bit, is it?
Yeah, it is. My software doesn't do that. My software just keeps the spacing in between there, and the fab has an engineer.
I was going to ask because so you're not that tightly integrated with the fab that you're producing the exact format that they want with the routing tool path already programmed in. So yeah, when you send the board to them, they have to actually manually program their machine with the routing tool path. As with most, almost every order they have to.
And my boards are hugely complex.
Because there's possibly potential, if you could automate that to sort of talk to whatever software they're using and eliminate that step automatically, and then they might be able to sell you the boards even cheaper again, because that's one extra step they don't have to do is programming all that. A lot of people don't realize this, is that when you send your panel into a PCB company and you specify a routing path, they have to manually, some poor bastard has to manually sit there and actually program that routing path into their machine. So
I would hate to have that job.
Yeah, I know. It'd be so monotonous.
I'd hate to have that job. It's awful. I mean, one of my panels has like 90 different boards on it.
I know. That's...
And they, with internal cutouts and milled paths and slots and all this, and they have to, and some poor guy has to go through there and do it.
What is the reasoning that's not already? I don't get it. Like, so why Why can't that be automated yet? Or is it just
a lot of PCB companies will use different software. They'll all have different Gerber programs to actually and talk to their machines. They'll all have different types of CNC routing machines and, all that sort of stuff. So they have to translate it into their particular machine's format that's needed.
Well, Lane, once this, this whole, collecting orders thing runs out, you can make the software that standardizes it and then
Good
use
luck
that
with
too. Sell it to people.
But it's
I got ideas on how you can do it, but I mean, people send such wildly weird things. Like it seems to be very common that people will like leave out one edge of their board, and so like you just have like a big U shape for the board outline, and with a whole edge missing. And the fab can figure that out. The poor cam engineer can figure that out, but that would be kind of difficult to do by software.
Well, I mean, that's like a watertight figure then, right? I mean, that's kind of the...
So it's humans for the win, right? Humans for the win. Just cannot be done by it cannot be done by robots or artificial intelligence. It's just...
it totally could be. Totally could be.
Come on, you're designing us all out of a job.
So what about your? I mean, so I've used your software before. I've used it a couple of times now, and I love it. And everyone I've ever talked to has said the same thing too. It's just like super simple. But could you just walk us through the flow real quick about how someone go about getting their board up onto the site?
Yeah, sure. So it's pretty simple. You go to Allspark.com. There's a big friendly button to get started. You upload either an Eagle board file or a zip file full of Gerbers. It does some layer identification magic behind the scenes. Spits up a couple preview images and to show you what your board will end up looking like. And that's a pretty good way to figure out if your files are right.
Yeah.
Then like even when I'm designing a board, I still send it through the site to get that preview instead of just looking at it through.
Right.
Through
that
Gerber
stupid swap in KiCad where it mirrors the drill file for some reason.
I have no idea why that exists.
Who came up with that?
That's the number one cause. For the listeners who might not have been cursed by this. When you're generating drills files in KiCad, the default setting is to mirror the y-axis of the drill file. So all your drills are way off board and floating out in space.
And it also makes your board look huge. It makes it look like it's like 3 times as big as it normally would be, so you get charged more too and everything. And
well, no, you only build for the board outline on the site, so it doesn't care about. It'll
I thought it did build for that.
It'll happily trim out all those drill files, and you end up with a board with no holes.
With no holes in it, yeah.
Because there's no holes. There's no holes where there should be holes on the board. They're all way off board.
You should send a little note that says,
it's the most ridiculous thing.
You have a drill press at home, right? You'll be fine.
Exactly.
Mind those traces.
And a plating bath. Right?
Yeah, right.
Is there any limit to how many holes you can have per panel? Because a lot of manufacturers will limit you to that. Otherwise, you pay a big premium for the number of drills.
Yeah, as far as an individual user of the service is concerned, no.
Right, but on your end, I imagine there is, in terms of number of holes and drill changes as well, is another big thing. Yeah. The fab gets cranky if I give them a panel with more than about 40 holes per square inch. Right. Okay. But that's only happened once, and people have done like big batches of perf board, 100 drill per inch perf board. And still that only brings up the averages a little bit. Oh, okay.
So it's average for the whole panel. Yeah. Is that the idea?
Yeah, exactly. Your average across the entire panel. As long as most boards are in the 20 or under drills per inch. Yeah. And then so it doesn't matter. I mean, there's really no way that an individual can do it without actually paying enough that I can afford to upgrade the number of holes per panel.
And how about the number of drill changes? Because I can imagine every man and his dog sending in different someone uses a 1.05 millimeter drill bit instead of a 1 millimeter just because they're not aware that their board uses 20 different drill sizes. They're not aware that that's an optimization step you should do on your final board before you send it out, is optimize your drill holes.
Yeah, and that's kind of a problem. And one of my fabs doesn't like it, but doesn't like it if you do more than 25, because most drill presses have spots for 25 different tools.
Yep.
But most of my fabs I now have 4 fabs behind the scenes who are making the boards.
Oh, okay, right.
And the other 3 are just fine. If I hand them a file with 50 different tools in it, they go, all right.
Fine.
Yes,
Are these all still based in the US?
Yep, they're all based in the US.
Oh, excellent.
With those numbers he gave, why wouldn't they be, man? I mean, like, saying, you know what, I'm okay with 5% this week.
Yeah, exactly.
5% errors is cool.
Granted, that's not indicative of Chinese labs in general, though. I mean, you can get the utmost highest quality boards from China. You just pay for it. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. You pay for it, and at that point, the cost advantage is eaten up, because in the U.S. fabs. Particularly the ones around Chicago, which were around Motorola. The quality the quality of these fabs is top notch. They are expensive, but actually on par with Chinese manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. That's like feet on the ground kind of numbers there. And like we always talk about that too. Just like just the advantage of labor and everything. But yeah, when you normalize for everything else, I'm sure it does at least get close, if not if not even exactly.
Because, like, say I wanted to order these from China, I could order I could send off my standard panels. If I wanted them back in the 7 days that I currently get them back, then I'm paying for 3-day turn times in China. Mm-hmm. I'm paying for overnight shipping.
Yeah,
practically.
Yeah, FedEx.
1 or 2 day shipping, and FedEx, and at that point. The shipping cost eats up most of it, and the 3-day turn time eats up the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I can get them in that short window of and customs can get involved and delay it indefinitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a logistic nightmare.
Something just occurred to me. Is there a way that you could possibly franchise this system so that people in other countries, like here in Australia, we have one PCB fab left here in Australia that does prototypes. No, maybe 2, but right that do PCB panel prototypes, right? And yeah, that's how barren this country is. And like, but is there a way maybe that service could be franchised to other countries so that you could take advantage of that localized pricing in each country?
The problem is that, and I've looked at this. I want to do this, especially like just most of my customers are in the U.S.
Right.
The rest, the next largest chunk is in Canada. The next largest chunk is in
Germany.
Is in Europe. Yeah, it's just Europe, and then Australia and New Zealand. So for Europe, there are still many very good PCB fabs there, and I'd like to do that. Their costs are actually pretty high even compared to U.S. fabs.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I've gotten quotes and I've tried to figure out what it would take to do it over there, and really I think the way I can best deal with that is to just speed up my shipping time to Europe and to Australia.
Right. Okay. Right.
Interesting.
Okay.
You should probably take the wife and kid over to Europe for a couple weeks though on a business trip. Just saying, you better go.
Just
go check
just
it
to
out.
check.
Yeah,
right.
every country, you could take your time, right? You don't want to be stressed. So,
right.
So do the fabs in the States? So we haven't mentioned even yet to the purple side of things. Obviously, everybody knows you for the purple, but do for panels? Do they give you any hassle for purple solder mask or
Yeah, that's been the most challenging part of when before I allowed myself to quit the day job. I wanted to make sure I had redundant fabs, and I had just gotten lucky that the fab that I was using had purple. The other ones that I had to add in did not carry the purple, and I've had to order it for them.
Really?
From the solder mask supplier, and so yeah, that's I pay for all the purple solder mask on that. It's not one of their standard colors.
That's good though. It's in it's.
Is it that
right?
important for you that that's sort of like a trademark of Allspark being purple? Is it that important?
Well, the reason that I started in the first place was just so that I could spot my boards on Flickr and stuff.
Right.
Now I just want everyone to have. I just want all the fabs to produce a consistent product. I want them all. So like if you order from me, that you'll get
got it.
You'll get a board that looks the same depending on which fab it comes from. So yeah, that's the main reason it was important there.
Yeah, because I remember seeing a picture you posted of, or someone was talking about on Twitter, of there being slight differences from one of the early orders or something. It was like lighter, but it didn't look bad. It was just once you put them together, then you can notice it next to each other.
Yeah, that was when I was adding a new fab in, and the sample panels I'd gotten from them were correct, but they had mixed a little bit. They'd mixed it too lightly, the color too lightly, so it ended up being more of a pink than a purple, and I didn't like it, but I mean, yeah. And we got it fixed for later ones.
The softer side of Allspark, is that what it is?
Right.
Because I can imagine if you did attempt to offer a selectable solder mask color, it'd become a nightmare because everyone would want something different, and then you'd never fill up your panels, and it'd just be a shocking mess, really.
I mean, I have ways to very soon, as soon as this feature is added to the website, I'll be able to do other colors.
Oh, okay.
The other colors will be on a slower basis. So like if you must have green, then that panel goes to the fab once a week instead of every day.
Got it.
So that's almost like a crowdfunding side of things, because you can get 4 or 5 other people together with a couple boards and say, hey, we need to, or is it just going to be one day a week no matter what?
No, I mean that's exactly what it would be. It would be one day a week, and I would, because no one wants to wait forever for the boards, and they don't want the uncertainty of like, hey, I ordered this board with green solder mask. No, you're not going to make it.
That's true, yeah.
So I mean, it's got to be consistent, and so whether I get the people or not, I have to order it, and therefore eat the cost. So I pretty much just have to hope that enough people will sign up for it if I offer it.
Got it.
From what so I have ways to like, because I can print more than one solder mask color on a single panel.
Really? I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's not cheap though. They charge you a bit of a premium for that.
It's not cheap because you're setting up. They charge it adds about 50% to the price of the panels, because that's
holy moly.
Because you're making a totally separate set of screens.
Yeah, exactly. I know somebody who wanted an Apple, the original Apple color logo on their board. You know the one with the 7 colors or however many colors are in there, and they actually ordered 7 different colored solder masks on the one board so that they could get that Apple logo. It's like I've got there's a photo of that somewhere. I'll have to.
So dumb.
But, hey,
that is really cool.
It did look cool. Yeah, it looked very cool. But they paid for that, so I'll have to see if I can find a link. I'll find a link to the photo of that and post it, because that's pretty good. So
I would love to see that.
Excellent.
How many panels are you sending out a week now? I mean, is it daily, like daily sendouts? I mean,
yeah, it's daily or more now.
Wow.
About in early May, I bought Batch PCB, which is SparkFun's PCB service.
Oh,
and that was and at that point, the business went up to the point that it was now more than once daily.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So it ends up being about 7 to 10 a week.
Dang. Wow. That's great, man. That's really great. And so that allowed you to quit your job, right?
I'm going to ask.
It kind of forced me to quit my job, because at that point it was just going to be too much work. There's no way that I could do my day job with any sort of professionalism.
Yeah.
How long had you been running this thing before you ended up quitting your day job?
Well, the first DorkBot PDX PCB order was in December of 2009. So what's that, about 4 years?
Okay. That's
3.5 years. Yeah.
3 to 3.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And then Allspark, when it actually and split it off from DorkBot and incorporated it and said, okay, I guess this is actually a business now. That's been about a year.
It was said with real confidence there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure future investors would love to hear that, right? They're like, oh, yes, we're a business, we think.
It's hard to consider yourself a business.
Yeah.
Right. Is it just you, or do you?
It's just me doing the board stuff, and then I have I contracted out to Sociable, James Harton, who does from New Zealand, who does the web design stuff for it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's what actually has the front end interface, and you kind of do the back end stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, Sociable, is that one of those? Is that like a people per hour kind of website?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it? Is it right? Is that's where you go to find someone to do something for?
Oh no, Sociable is no, it's not. It's that's just this person's web design firm.
Right. Didn't he change his thing to resistor.io as well?
That's right. It's resistor.io now.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Got it.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter, and I asked him, like, why did you change your web company name to resistor.io? And he's like, well, Allspark was one of my clients, so I think that was part of the reason. So that sounds great.
Plus, he himself does a bunch of electronics work on his own. He does like audio boards.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
And he was that's how I found him. He was in the Dorkbot PDX PCB order. He's one of the people who used it, and and I'm so glad he was free to do it.
Terrific. I love this industry.
Yeah,
that does help. So speaking of that, former guest of the show, Ian Danaher, who had done the Nonolith C, that little like smooth thing. So I was having drinks with him on Friday. And then I mentioned that you were going to be on the show. He's like, "Oh, no way, thank you for me." I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "Well, Lane is the reason that I got started in electronics." And I was like,
wow.
"Holy crap, that's a cool story."
There you go.
That's awesome.
So what was it? I mean, like, you guys were on some forum somewhere or chat something? I don't know what it was.
It was probably just Twitter, and this was kind of the time when the great internet migratory boxes of electronic junk were roaming the earth.
That's what that. I was looking at that acronym, wondering what the hell it was.
Yeah, that's something that I think it was Evil Mad Science Labs that started this. The great internet migratory box of electronic junk, and you just throw all your extra electronics junk into a flat rate shipping box.
Yeah.
In the U.S., we have these nice flat rate shipping boxes that's like $10 anywhere in the U.S. And like 2-day shipping. So so you just fill that up with whatever parts from your junk drawer that you hope somebody will use, but you're not the person to give it a good home and send it off. And he was one came through me, and I tweeted about it, and he said, "Yeah, I'll take it."
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's
so it's really Evil Mad Science who was to thank there. But
those guys are awesome.
They are.
Hello, Wendell.
I
Lenore.
wonder if there's one in Australia. Somebody contacted me about one of these. I'm going to have to go find their email, but I think it may have been the one of the overseas ones. So obviously, shipping stuff overseas is really expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to bounce
really
it
only
between
makes sense.
Australia and back, right? You'd want it to.
No, it'd be it'd cost $100 each time.
Yeah, but you could do it all over Australia. You could certainly have an Australian one, right?
Yeah,
it's cheap. Shipping is cheapy there.
Yeah, Dave, you can start it. You can start
there's
shipping.
certainly-
After the show, I will note down. I will go back and find that email, and I will. And if there isn't one in Australia, I will start one.
There you go. What kind of things are in these things? I've heard about them once or twice, but just like relays and stuff like that, or
Yeah, you get
Anything, dude.
Exactly, it's anything. So like one that I got had like a game controller and a bunch of like SSRs. They had like some LCDs and then like like some sort of radio thing. A bunch of stuff that I didn't really know, to be honest.
Okay.
Especially back then.
It's just like a movable geocache. Sorry, geocache for you Yanks. If you've ever done geocaching, right? It's a similar sort of thing. Are the rules the same? You take something and you put something back in.
Yeah, you're supposed to. You're supposed to take. You're supposed to open it up. You're supposed to take pictures of what you take out and what you put in, post it to Flickr or something, and then send it on its way to the next person.
Got it.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do I get one of these things? I want to participate. It just sounds like fun. I mean, it's like I don't know. It sounds like a cool old tradition, you know.
It is. Yeah, there's a website for them if you search for that acronym. I'm not going to try and spell it out.
TGIMBOEGJ. Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yes. Okay.
They should do like a geocaching thing so you can see where its current location is on a map, you know, and then you can like track it all around and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, and I think kind of the day of it is, and it was pretty big for maybe a year, and then I think people get lazy and hide them in there and like forget to send them off because I haven't seen the
if
updates.
You get it, yeah.
Oh yeah, and then
Right.
there's it looks like a wiki page for it, and it says there's a page for greedy participants as well, so the people who don't pass it on.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what happens if nobody passes on? It just stops.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
It's dead in the water.
It's dead. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Bummer.
is fun.
Yeah, searching for it on Twitter. The last update was the last time anybody tweeted this acronym was in March of 2012.
No. Well, maybe
So-
the Empower can revive
Fail.
I hope so because it is fun.
it. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Well, yeah, we'll post about it at least, and maybe people can start those back up. Especially there's links and stuff. So
Yeah.
Well, we find the bastard who's currently got it and just go around on it. Somebody's got to live nearby. Go around and steal it from them.
ship them a gym sock with a bar of soap in it. There's a warning.
Go find Ian. Go find Ian and see if he sent his on.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy! Back onto the Allspark
Yeah.
thing. I notice everything you do is except the layer of the board, except the thickness of the board is all in imperial measurements.
It's true.
Even your drill sizes, your angular rings, your
It's
track
true.
and space, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's true. You bloody Yanks.
It's
Yeah.
awful, and
Why?
like when I first started making boards and coming up with finding the unit of measure of the mil, I was like, wow, that doesn't make any sense at all. 64 millimeter thick boards? And that's huge. And
Yep.
It's like a sandwich.
Yeah,
right.
a mil is a thou.
It's a
It makes
thou.
sense, doesn't it?
And
Yeah.
a thou didn't mean anything to me either. So
Right.
it's just because that still seems to be the units of measure for circuit boards.
You know,
and
it's never going away
Well,
either.
no, the Fabs in America it is. Most other countries, it's an interesting mix. They'll still use imperial for track and space sometimes, like, sixth hour track and space, but drills are all metric. Board sizes all metric, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. So,
and of course,
yeah,
when I
it's a very
submit
interesting industry.
when I submit these things for manufacture, they're going into metric, of course.
Yeah.
Just because that's what the manufacturing is, even if the designers are still stuck in these imperial units. Yeah.
Well, how big are your components, right? 0603, right? I mean, like that's kind of
Right.
just
Yeah,
baked
exactly.
in too, right? I mean, it's just these legacy
Yeah,
things.
that's right.
But I've talked about moving over, but man, it's tough. Like unless you do that final conversion, right? Like where you start associating it. I don't know.
Well, I've moved over for a lot of stuff, but something, as you said, like a component size 0603, right? I'm just so used to doing
it's an association at that
0603.
point. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not a
whereas
actual measurement.
that's like 1608 in metric. It's just crazy. No, I've been using
Yeah.
that for 20 years.
What's really annoying is a 1206 has a meaning in both metric and imperial, right?
That's the worst part.
Exactly.
That bit me very early in my circuit board designing career.
Yep. Well, no, officially now all of the standards have changed over to fully metric.
Oh,
So
really?
if
Okay.
if you
IPC?
strictly want to follow the IPC standards, yes, they are all metricated.
I did not know
There is
that.
none of this imperial rubbish anymore.
Excellent.
So, yep.
Do you have to deal with IPC much, Lane?
Well, I have to be familiar with the specs since that's how that describes every part of circuit board manufacturing. I mean, technically, I could do this without knowing them, but I make a better product by knowing them.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad you do it so I don't have to. Because I tried reading that stuff before, and good Lord, that's a snooze fest.
It is. It really is. I just sat through the ones for electroless ENIG plating, gold plating.
Oh, yeah.
And just so that I could, just because I was having a plating issue with one of the new Fabs, and I or at least I thought I was, and so I just wanted to go through it and figure out what the stuff was, and oh my God.
That's right, folks. He does it
so
so you don't
boring.
have to.
Right.
That is a service provided. So, and most of your boards are gold because the purple and then gold is ENIG usually.
Yeah, it's always ENIG. Yeah,
oh, okay.
It's all nickel and gold.
Okay, and that's So ENIG stands for immersion nickel, immersion
electroless nickel immersion gold.
Something.
Yeah. Okay. Electroless nickel
immersion gold.
Okay.
Yes,
sorry.
that's right.
Yeah, it's just I think a much better finish.
Oh yeah, definitely. But there's a lot of quality difference between a good gold finish and a poor one from China. Like there's a huge range. How does yours stack up in that regard in terms of the quality of finish in terms of like tarnishing and things like that?
I haven't had any tarnish issues at all with that. I had what I thought was a plating issue at one time, but I think it was actually a fab contamination issue. I think somebody put a fingerprint on the board. Oops. In between the etching and the plating step. So
that's a hell of a look on the board, right?
It is.
Got it. On the bright side, you can go find that person. Yeah. Do a little CSI work.
Yeah, I mean,
and is there any? Sorry.
I was going and boy, is it just a lot different than like the solder finish, the hassle finish that.
Oh yeah.
It's so nice to. They get this nice flat surface with the leaded solder or the solder thing where they have this hot air solder leveled, hot air hassle, air solder leveled and hassle. So. Especially at small trace clearances, that really opens you up to shorts. And I think that was the big reason that I was having problems at first with the panels we were sending to China.
Got it.
So your stuff is 6.6 right now, is that right? 6 mil, 6 space?
The 4-layer order is 5.5, but okay. The 2-layer is 6.6.
Okay. So is that? You guys have to excuse me. I never do BGA layouts because I just push that off to my layout guy, and I'm like, no, thank you.
Right.
Is that so? Can you do BGAs with that? I mean, or is it?
You can do like 1 millimeter BGAs, no problem.
Yes, you can do BGAs.
Yeah, 1 millimeter is no problem.
Once it gets smaller than that, it's pushing it. Yeah.
A lot of people ask me for rules that can do 0.8 millimeter BGA, and that's why I upped the design rules for the 4-layer order. So now it has 5.5 trace spacing, and then it has 10 mil drill and 4 mil annular ring. So that's enough to just barely squeak through. Plus, these design rules that I have with my fabs are the guaranteed numbers. I don't enforce these, and neither does the fab. So I've seen people try and like sneak in 3.3 rules.
Knowingly, you think, or just by accident?
I think they didn't know that they were violating the rules. I can only think that because most people think that there's something that'll keep them from being able to submit boards that have them. But
it's just something they might etch through your line, right? I mean, it just
all my fabs are 3 mil capable, so sometimes it's just not guaranteed because 3 mil. What happens is they just have a lower yield on them.
Yeah, right. And they want 100% tested. They want to have high quality stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and what happens with that if one of them fails testing because some idiot put through 2,000 on there, so it fails all the electrical testing? Then do you tell them, look, we still want that panel because everyone else's design is going to be fine?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I hope they wouldn't scrap that panel because...
No, they just scrap that one board. And typically what they do is they just put an X on it to show that it's a bad board.
On it. Yep.
But our boards actually aren't electrically tested. They do automated optical inspection throughout the whole process, which is... they compare scans of the board with the Gerbers in order to make sure that there are no shorts or breaks. But they don't do the final electrical test, which would expose things like plating issues and vias. But like if a via didn't go all the way through or something. But as I say, in practice, this is a reported failure rate of about 1 in 40,000.
Wow, that's great. So, What, are you at 1 ounce copper still? Is that I've looked at your specs a couple times, but I always forget. I mean,
Yep, it's 1 ounce.
So I mean, you mentioned solder mask moving out. Are you looking at maybe moving other stuff out too? I mean, like Allspark's getting bigger, so is this does this mean options are getting bigger too?
Different thickness boards, flex, it's
right. 0.8 millimeters is coming. I mean, that's another thing that as soon as my web designer can put that that feature into the website, I can start doing it. The probably not thicker boards, probably not different copper thicknesses, because really what I want to do with the half width boards is say is if you don't specify that you must have 1.8 millimeter, or I'm sorry, 1.6 millimeter or 0.8 millimeter, then just then it can go on either panel, and you could get either back. But you can of course always say that I must have the half, or I must have the full.
Okay,
right, yep.
But most people are just doing prototypes, and they don't care. So, and that's still the vast majority of the order is prototypes.
Yeah, well, doing a BGA and a 4-layer is pretty tough to start with. I mean, like just breaking out all those signals and everything, right? I mean, like it seems most BGA boards.
Well, it depends on the BGA. It depends on how many levels of pads you've got in there. Yeah. You know, so.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess smaller parts aren't as big a deal, but I've some of that stuff I've looked at. I mean, like I said, I haven't done one, so I don't really know. But
no, well, you wouldn't be able to do a huge 800 or 1,000 pin BGA on a 4-layer board or something, unless you're only routing out 10 signals. Unless you're only routing out the ones on the outsides. Yeah. But sometimes some people have to do that. You need $1,000 FPGA, but you only and 1,000 pin FPGA because you need it for the logic density. But you only need to have 20 signals. Yeah, like a serial in and out. That's it, right? But you need this 1,000 pin BGA. It's insane.
That is
I've done
crazy.
that before. If you picked up on that,
I got that. Yeah.
I've had that requirement: 2 serial buses in, 2 serial buses out. Right, but we had to use a 1,500 pin BGA.
Oh, that sucks.
because we needed the density in there.
Yeah.
So we needed the highest end part. It was crazy.
So Lane, I have to imagine that looking at a panel is probably really fun. Because you get to see projects like Dave's crazy, huge FPGA type of thing, and then you also get to see, like an LED blinky board.
Yeah,
I know that you keep. I've asked you about this before too, because I wanted my stuff to be secret at the time. But what kind of crazy stuff do you see, like in a general case? Nothing like that anyone would be unwilling to have told about. But have you seen anything like super crazy?
Let's see. So hard to say. I mean, so lately it's now just such a race to get things depaneled and shipped off that I don't really get to see what's on there anymore. It was certainly a lot more fun when I was just doing like a panel a week, and then I could like spend some time and look through it. But yeah, I see all sorts of. It's really amazing to me the number of tube projects that like every single panel has a tube socket on it somewhere. So there are tons and tons and tons of tube projects. And
wow.
Yeah.
And let's see. So there and then of course like just your standard complement of like Arduino shields and little breakout boards, and then and then every now and then like these like people started doing like the front panels for audio decks. They started to mill those out of the board, because I mean a PCB is it's a piece of nice thick fiberglass.
Makes a great front panel.
Exactly. So people so I've started seeing those in the order.
But it's purple though. That's not that great.
That's awesome,
right?
man.
That's when you need the selection of colours. Is when you're doing front panels. Yeah.
Well, purple makes it distinctive. I like that. It's regal.
Regal. I don't know. It's very 1980s Prince, isn't it?
Well, and a trick that people can do is you print out it. So you take your front panel board, you put a copper fill across the entire thing, and then you expose the text out through the solder mask layer. So now you have this gorgeous purple front panel with gold legend on it.
Yeah.
Gold text
Gold
for all this
lettering.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. The magics of PCB. That's great.
Comes back to if you got poor quality gold, that can then tarnish that, over time. So that can be, it's great when you get it. Oh, look at this beautiful gold text. And then it's, 6 months later, it's like tarnished crap.
So now I've been doing the gold finish for about 2 years, and I have boards from 2 years ago, and I haven't seen tarnishing issues just on the shelf. Certainly with like fingerprints on it and stuff, because like just the acid
fingerprints that causes
just like the acid from your fingers, it can eat through the tiny layer of gold that are on these boards, because most of the finish is nickel, and then there's just a gold the gold finish on it for solderability.
Trap for young players, that one.
So you see a lot of cool projects. The other question I had for you before we get to we should have probably gotten to some of the listener questions too. But before we do that, we've talked about so what is the mix you're seeing of CAD programs? Because I think I've asked you in the past, but I'm always curious about that.
I would love to have this just as a thing, as just a counter on the front page of the website, because it is interesting to see how things have changed over time. When I first started it was all Eagle, it was almost all Eagle with a little bit of KiCad, and then a little bit of and then like vanishingly small of everything else. About a year ago, KiCad kicked up. Is more than is ended up being like 75% for a long time.
Wow.
With Eagle dropping down to a quarter, or to less than a quarter, and then just a few, then the smattering of other ones. Now I'm getting a lot more I think professional boards, like from engineering firms, and not just the open source hardware community. So I've seen a rise in Altium and Horizon Altium and OrCAD and pads and things like that. But I'd say right now it's probably at about, I would say that KiCad probably still has the majority. Eagle is, or maybe not a full majority, but most of the boards on in there are KiCad, followed by Eagle, probably neck and neck. And then Altium, a little bit of DesignSpark, and then actually I'm seeing a few from like the web tools, the web layout tools, like Circuits.io.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
I'm sure that'll get bigger too. I mean, I don't know if you're working with any of them or anything like that, but
yeah, I do the boards for Circuits.io.
Oh, you do? Okay, so that you're like tied into that.
Yeah, so that like when you order through them, it comes out through me.
That reminds me, by the way, I have to do my video beating up Altium because they haven't released a hobbyist version. I'll have to do that shortly.
I'd like that because, well, I mean, they have the new kind of like, well, they have the student rates and they have the new kind of, what is it, $50 a month rate?
Like a cloud rate kind of thing? Like a
I don't know what it is. It's a subscription thing. And but I guess there's a good student rate because I see a lot from students. Or that it's the the piracy rate.
Yeah. Yeah, Eagle and Altium seem to both have high piracy rates from what I've heard from everyone I know.
Altium is the de facto standard in China. Not a lot of people know this. It's used almost exclusively in China, Altium Designer, but nobody pays for it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a Chinese company now, right?
Well, yes, it is. That's right.
That will be really interesting though when you get that on the front site. I mean, that's just to see how trends change over time and everything. You know, like that.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
I would definitely do that. That's a useful industry resource.
Aside from the PCB service.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I want to have like the top. I want to have like the list of here's the top parts that people use, and here's the top CAD packages, and that sort of thing. And
that'd be great.
I still consider this kind of a community circuit board order. So like when you order something, it tells you like the number of boards on it gives you a few simple statistics about the panel that you're on, like the number of designs and the number of people. Mm-hmm. So it'd be really cool to also have in like, and here was the mix of CAD packages, and here was.
Oh yeah, that'd be really cool. I'd like to if you I know this would be tough, but I'm going to ask anyways. Okay. You know, like on maps where it says like you are here. If you had like the whole panel and then you just had like a little bit that you're doing, you are here. You know, that would be cool too. But
we're going to have this project sharing thing popping up soon, and that'll capture whether or not people are sharing their designs, and in which case you can have here you are in the panel, and here are the open source designs that are right next to you.
Oh, name and shame! I like that.
Which I think would be really fun.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You just get add the little logo with the gear and the keyhole, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's so. When are these features rolling out? I mean, is this obviously you know? I'm sure the day to day is pretty busy, but
yeah,
you know, the whole pushing features is fun too.
Yeah, and well, I don't have the web designers full time, so that slows things down a bit. But soon,
Okay.
I'm really hoping within like the next month we'll have at least the project sharing and then I'll be able to start capturing things like that, like whether or not something is shareable, in which case I can collect more statistics about it.
So will that be like so it'll say yes, this board Dave Jones uploaded this board, it is open source hardware licensed, and then it's like click order, that kind of thing, or what?
That too, but also that like you were on a panel with right next to Dave Jones's board. Here's the list of open source designs that were on the same panel as you.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Cool.
It's like a active wiki kind of thing. It's like because then of course you're gonna go look up those designs, right? It's like I want to see what this thing is.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and that kind of builds on the sense of community. Like it takes 80 people working together to justify one of these panels.
And one lane, don't forget that. The one and only.
One lane of traffic, right?
That's great. So we should get to some listener questions.
Yes, questions.
Okay.
How about the one at the bottom first? So there was rumor about gift certificates. I don't know if that was you were going to give me a gift certificate or David a gift certificate, but
that's kind of a lower priority feature on there. But yes, I would love to be able to just kind of go, okay, you know what? Here's a list of codes that I can generate on the site and hand out, or people can order a gift certificate for them, because it does get requested pretty frequently, and it's something that I would like to have just to like reward people for doing good things, or to
like
go,
promotion type stuff, right?
That or hey, I really like your project. If you want to make it through the site, here's a gift code.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I do that to a limited extent right now. I'll see something interesting on another site, and I'll go, hey, I think there was one that's an open source. It's called a puff and sip interface, and it's for people who are like quadriplegics who it's a pressure sensor connected to a straw, and so you can blow in it to enable or select to not to disable, and that's a project that I would have really liked to have supported in that way, of just being able to say hey, that's neat, that's great work. If you'd like to order it through my site, please.
Yeah, like the Allspark philanthropic arm, right?
Right.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Where do you currently sit in terms of competition? Where do you currently sit in terms of lead time? Well, with PCB, it's all about lead time and price.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fairly much. I mean, quality is like, almost secondary for these prototype boards. It's like, how much does it cost and how quick can I get it?
Yeah, exactly. So,
where do you sit in terms of competition? Who's your main competitors?
So I'm in the same group here as like price-wise between Seed Studio, iTeed Studio, of course my two main competitors, Sunstone in the U.S. and kind of Advanced Circuits, since they have their $33 deal. Right, the $30 deal.
Yeah.
But for prototypes, it's all about your it's kind of like you want one board, and so the 33 each, you have to buy 5, so it ends up being $150.
Yep. But you can get 60 square inches. I think that's the only.
You can get some nice big boards for it. So, but let's see. So what's that? $150 divided by 5 means you get a 30 square inch board from me for the same price.
Yeah. Right.
Lead time. Lead time is definitely where I win, because my average order to shipping time is now 8 days. So, and inside the U.S., awesome. that means you'll very likely have your boards in 10 days.
9 if you do priority shipping, which I always do.
Yeah, right.
Because it's $5. Right. It's like, all right, yeah, whatever.
Give me my boards now, damn it.
Yeah.
But as I say, outside of the country, it's if you want speedy stuff at or even a predictable delivery time outside of the country, that's like UPS Express is it. And that's like that's like $50.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Which is, it's crazy. Yeah,
because like my shipping time to Australia, for example, is it seems to be, no matter what, if you use priority mail or regular mail, it's it's 14 days, no matter what.
It's a geographic phenomenon.
That's
2 weeks from everywhere.
That triples your time from ordering it to getting it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. It used to be a lot better than that. This is before all the security, all the US security bullshit.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
I would order stuff from the US and get it in 1 or 2 days.
Wow.
It'd be on the plane straight here and bang. Mm-hmm. Well, now it's like, oh God, I've got to bloody scan everything.
So now I have
crazy Yanks.
Yeah. So now I'm working on getting a faster service for international. And what I can do is both UPS and DHL have these international mail products. Once you ship to a certain amount of volume overseas, you can. What they do is they collect the mail from me, and they fly it into the destination country. They escort it past customs, and then they put it in the local mail system.
So they're drug smugglers. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
Right.
So they claim 4 to 8
smugglers.
They claim 4 to 8 days anywhere in the world. So
wow, that's killer.
I'm really hopeful.
Right.
Yeah. And so that would that be like a thing where it's like, all right, all the people in South Africa or somewhere where it has the potential for the amount of traffic they need, but it'd have to get over some threshold. Is that like everybody would need to get together and kind of help out with that kind of thing, or what?
No, it's I only have to reach a threshold for all outside countries.
Great.
It's only a pickup threshold. It's not a per destination country threshold.
Oh, that's great then. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Non-America, you win again.
Yeah. So I think those are like my main competitors, and I think I do pretty well price-wise against most of them. Certainly quality-wise, by a far margin quality-wise.
I was going to mention I think there was a document that actually did the comparison too, because there's a balance point because of the costs, so if your board's over a certain size, I think that's where the only thing that tips the scales is because of size, right? So if I need a 60 square inch board, I'd go to Advanced, but if it's 10, then I'm going to go to you, just because of the cost trade off. And, it's same thing that happens with like web companies too. It's like, if you want flat rate for some, large amount of downloading, or if you want to, go to iTunes and buy one song at a time kind of thing.
Yeah.
You were the iTunes, except with a better interface, because iTunes sucks. So yeah, Friendly Circuit was asking on Reddit. So yeah, how do you find new ones? I guess you've already scaled up to 4 fabs. How would you go about finding another fab? Is that just like a site visit kind of thing, or?
First of all, there's just the challenge of finding them, because most of them have really terrible web presences. A lot of these companies were started in the 80s and 90s at kind of the heyday of circuits manufacturing in the U.S. Not so much. They don't so much have great websites. So it's kind of hard to find them. There's a site called PCB List, which you can search by geographic location. Then I have to contact them and send them a copy of one of my panels and say, first of all, are you interested in this? And for a lot of them, they just go, no. And that's a really complicated panel. We don't want to touch it.
Why?
For any
Why
price.
is that? Just too complex?
Just programming the router for all those is awful.
Yeah, it's the cam guy screaming in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No!
Right. I will quit if you take on this customer. Right. And then I have to send sample and say, okay, I'd like to order that panel, and that panel has a bunch of normal boards on it, as well as one of my I have a variety of test coupon boards that I've designed. That like one of them is really it's a 2x2 inch board. It has 286 linear inches of exposed trace on it. 6 mil parted from another trace, zigzagging all over the place in a complicated curve, with lots of acid traps and lots of like vias, small vias with small annular rings to really it's really a fab torture test.
Is that called the bastard coupon?
Yeah, I think I do call it something similar to that.
Yeah. Do you have a picture of this? I definitely want to see a picture of this.
Yeah, I do. I can send you a link afterwards.
Okay, great. That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's a great idea, though. That's actually how they do it for making chips as well, because you need to test like the smallest features and everything. So that's really cool that you kind of do that same thing. I never would have thought of doing that.
Well,
kind
a
of thing.
test coupon is standard across the industry. If you're serious about getting your PCBs manufactured, every panel you design, in fact, it's company policy. A lot of companies I've worked at, you put a test coupon on there, and
Yeah, the test coupons
just so that you can track individual boards when they come back.
Yeah, IPC has standards for this, but and they're okay. But mine are really a lot more rigorous, I think. Theirs are like, okay, here's like 12 linear inches of trace right next to each other, of various sizes and things like that. And you look at it and you go, okay, but I need to know like solder mask alignment, top copper to bottom copper alignment, drill registration, drill sizes. I need to know if they trace width tolerances and all of these things.
And so you just measure it when you get back then? Like you just measure each of these things visually and
when I'm selecting a new fab, yes. After I've selected the fab and they've passed the tests, then I just do a random sampling every so often, or if I've gotten a complaint on a panel.
Okay. Huh, that's cool. That's really cool. So obviously my panel knowledge is low, as has been shown throughout this entire show. But for the folks at home, of course, not for me.
Yeah.
Could you help visualize a panel in terms of size and everything? I know Dave's done videos on it, but we all know I don't watch those videos. So.
Yeah, well, there are standard panel sizes. The regular standard panel size is 18 inches by 24 inches, and which is a foot and a half by 2 feet.
Okay.
That's and of that, there's a little bit of a frame on it so that the fab can put their tooling holes and things like that in it. So you end up with about 16 inches by 22 inches of usable space. And that tends to, and for a lot of fabs, that's any board you make through them is going to go through one of these because it's just the materials are so inexpensive that it doesn't make sense to stock other things. And sometimes they'll cut them in half and things like that, but most won't. They just deal in that one custom size.
There's a lot of waste in the PCB industry.
There is.
But for those out there who don't realise, and who haven't watched my video, don't just go making this massive panel because you can fit 100 of your boards and think that can then go through the pick and place machine because no.
Not only can it go through
Talk
the pick
to your assembler first because
not only can it go through the pick and place, but if you don't have consistent copper coverage across your panel, then you're going to have plating issues, which will cause which can cause breaks and shorts and all sorts of problems. And I was plagued by those when I first started doing the service until finally some guy I sent it to a fab and said, why like they eventually said, no, we don't want to make these because they're hand fixing hundreds of problems on here.
Wow.
And that was the main reason that Advanced Circuits dropped me as a customer back in when I first started this. And they go, look, we're fixing 200 shorts and breaks on these because of your copper coverage.
Oh.
And I was like, copper coverage?
Wow.
And so then I had to write code.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what? I had no idea. So so then I found someone to educate me. They said they laid out. He told me, you need to have similar copper coverage across the entire panel, like a certain percentage of copper coverage, and or you can have it gradiated, so you have like a bunch of stuff with copper pores at the top and not a lot of stuff at the bottom. And there's tricks you can do. And so I had to rewrite my panelization software to take that into account.
And so now it actually does the analysis based on like percentage of copper and different layers and everything so that it matches that standard or what?
Yeah, exactly. So so now really what I do is I just split off all the boards that have low copper coverage onto their own panels. But for a long time, I'd had it try and lay it out and analyze it and put it in the right spot in the panel, which was kind of a huge headache. And
right. Yeah, so now your software optimizes for all the spacing and everything too, right? For actually fitting smaller boards in with larger boards and stuff, right?
Yep.
Math.
There's lots of traps like that when you get into serious PCB manufacturing. There's just so many of them. In fact, there's probably some that you haven't even hit yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're making really advanced boards and serious business, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And often, and sometimes it is fab dependent. and assembler dependent and all sorts of things. So, you know, what might work at one fab doesn't work at another. What might work at one assembler doesn't work at another. And whoosh.
Yeah, I mean,
it's ugly.
And there are like actual manufacturing process differences between the way that U.S. fabs make boards versus how Chinese fabs do, because because U.S. fabs have all these extra environmental rules that they have to adhere to.
No Cooper chloride going down the drain here. Is that the
exactly? And so like in a U.S. fab, the difference between a plated via and an unplated one is if there's copper on both sides, because anything with a copper pad on both sides will get plated, and anything else won't. In the Asian fabs, they have a different process that with a different type of resist, so they can send it through once instead of having to do these multi-step processes.
And it's just not as friendly, so that's why we can't do it in the States. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Huh. That's crazy. See, I don't know. I'm fine with, like, you know, I've worked near PCB manufacturer, or at least the assembling side of things. But I don't mind not touching this stuff.
You toss it over the wall.
Exactly.
You're a tosser. Come on.
I'm not a tosser, but yeah, but I don't mind letting this stuff go. I mean, like, there's many more capable people than me. I don't know. Like, this Lane is a great example. You know, like, this is.
Well, no, that is very common. A designer won't know jack about either laying out a board or manufacturing. They'll just what's called toss it over the wall to the PCB guy or girl. You know, they'll toss it over the wall, so to speak, and wipe their hands of it, and hey, someone else's problem.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I don't ever have to do. I usually hardly ever do fab drawings, although that is, you know, if you're doing bigger orders, obviously that's, you know, like that's a big part of it, but. Great services like Allspark allow me not to need to do fab drawings either, because it's just all automated. So I like that. I mean, it's just not worth my time. I mean, like the fab drawing side of things, like that's not worth my time.
It's not. Yeah.
And because I have great services like Allspark, and I do mostly prototyping. So whatever. Thanks, Lane. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
So what else is in the future? I mean, what are you gonna, you know, branch out in other ways, or just kind of head down, keep quality high kind of thing for now?
No, it's there's definitely now with the with like the batch PCB customers in the mix. Now I have a large enough flow that I can kind of do other things. I can do thinner boards. I can do different colors. I can. I'm hoping to offer an assembly service at some point soon.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
A very limited assembly service, but all the same.
You've opened up a whole can of worms there.
Yeah.
Assembly service. Oh, man, if you think you're working your ass off now.
Well, very much like the boards, I'm not going to be manufacturing them. Yeah. I'm going to be sending them off to get manufactured.
Yeah, but if you can automate that side of things, I mean, like, I know that it happens
but you've got to deal with the crap, though. When somebody's got a complaint, they're going to come to you.
It's true.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
Well.
And assembly will have many orders of magnitudes more complaints than just bare board PCB.
Definitely, and I'm not looking forward to that.
That's just the nature of the business.
Dave is a professional complainer.
Right. Oh, yeah, I am. It's my business.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And you're good at what you do.
Yes.
So, Lane, you had mentioned a couple of days ago when we were talking that you might be looking for people soon. Is that the idea, or is that?
This is something now that I have to kind of figure out is I need help. This is most of the PCB stuff is just me, right? So I'm responsible for breaking up the boards. I'm responsible for answering customer support email. I'm responsible for trying to find people's projects and publicizing them, things through the order. So I'm really looking for help for both like handling the customer support email, which is things like, hey, I'm having problems getting my boards to upload, or things like, hey, I just got my board back and it's not exactly like I pictured. What's going on? And that sort of stuff. So I need to find people to help with that. I need peoples.
Yeah.
I need people to help blog it. Because I'd like to have a blog where people can share their designs, share these open source designs, these cool things, all these cool projects that are coming through the order.
Yeah, solder mask art. That's always a fun thing. I've been trying to put
solder mask
art on all my boards.
Yeah. Yeah, you and John Janier both do. John Janier on Twitter both do a great job with your designs and your like hidden messages on the boards.
Yeah.
Could you like sneak in every board that comes through? Can you sneak in like a little bit of? Can you automatically place like some little, bit of silk screen on their board?
Like
a random little animal or something. Right? No,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I know. You get a lot of pissed off people.
Right.
It'd be fun
It
for
would
a
be
while
fun.
until everyone stopped using your service.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they didn't get exactly what they asked for. Yeah. Because that's really annoying, right? I send a board away to get manufactured, and the bastards put, like, their own mark on it, And, like, I'm trying to do, like, a front panel or something, and they'll put their, their
It's your order
batch
number,
code
mostly.
or their date code number or something. It's bastards.
Yep.
It's like, just manufacture what I told you to. Nothing more, nothing less. And, yeah, it's I'm sure you get complaints like that all the time. But I'm sure you use manufacturers that don't tell them not to put the marks on.
Right, exactly. I get one UL mark for the entire panel, for example, and a date code on the entire panel.
And it's off the design.
And I don't put order numbers or anything on the boards like the cheaper Chinese manufacturers have to do.
Oh, just to keep it all straight? Is that the idea?
Oh,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
For a good time, just throw some random 6-digit numbers on your boards and send them off to them.
Random Chinese characters.
Right.
Oh, boy.
That's good. All right, cool. So how should people get a hold of you if they are in Portland and they want to work for you?
They should send me an email and they don't have to be in Portland for most of that. It's customer service.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I give them access to an email box. But I am Lane.
There's this thing called the internet, Chris.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
It brings people together. I'm Lane, Laen, at Allspark.com.
Okay, cool. And we'll post that. We'll post that so Lane gets all the spam in the world from
I
the
appreciate
amp hours. All the spammers on our site, but also hopefully the soon to be gainfully employed.
Absolutely.
All right, and Allspark.com that's the place to go. Upload, get purpled, as we were saying. Get purpled.
Get purpled. I haven't done it yet. I'll have to put one through just for kicks.
It is a magical process. Honestly, just like how easy it is. It's really great.
Right.
So
Awesome.
I highly recommend it.
Thank you very much for joining us, Lane.
Well, thank you very much
It's been
for having
interesting.
me.
We'll talk to you soon, and we'll see more purple PCBs out in the wild.
Awesome. Right.
Or multiple colors once you offer.
That's right. Yeah.
Options. That's what we want.
It'll be purple in my heart.
Thanks, mate. Catch you later.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.